Welcome to the tutorial on creating a basic Tkinter GUI in Python. So what is a GUI or Graphical User Interface? So in the world of programming, a Graphical User Interface, or we call this a GUI, it provides a visual way for users to interact with software. So unlike command line interfaces, GUIs utilize graphical elements such as buttons, text boxes, and windows to enhance the user experience. Okay, so GUIs make software more user-friendly. So think of it as the face of your application where users can click buttons, input text, and receive feedback. For example, you can see that we have a GUI for a vending machine. It has a title says vending machine. It gives you an instruction saying press a button to continue, and then you have 4 buttons to choose from. So that's a basic GUI. Okay, so hope what is a GUI, it makes sense. Let's go to our next slide where we will learn about Tkinter. Now, Tkinter is a popular Python library for creating graphical user interfaces or GUIs. To create a basic GUI application in Tkinter, you will need to use various widgets and commands. Now, for this lesson, you don't have to install any software. We use something called Replit. It's an online compiler to build our GUI. So let's go to Google and search for Replit. You can see I already have an account. If you don't have an account, let me just show you this one more time. Once you go to replit.com, you can click on sign up or log in. Since I already have an account, I'll just click on log in. And you can use your Google account, GitHub account, Facebook account, or Apple account. I'll just choose Google account and choose the account that I want to use. And it will load the home page. From there, you just have to click on create REPL. And since you're using the language Python, I'll choose Python. Title, you can choose one or leave it as it is, and just click on create REPL. And your editor is ready. You can start writing the code. So let's now go over step by step to build our first basic GUI application in Python. So the first step is import Tkinter as Tk. So you have to import the Tkinter library. So the first command, I'll just say step number 1. Okay, it will be easy to understand. So import Tkinter as Tk. So that will be the first step. Okay, so once you imported the Tkinter in your application, the reason I use Tk so that you don't have to type Tkinter, you can just use the name Tk, which is why I wrote Tkinter as Tk. And step number 2, we have to create the main application window where you're going to place all of your buttons, texts, inputs, and everything. So to do that, the next is creating the main application window. Usually we call this a root. Obviously, you can give it any name like main window, but generally the root is used for the main application window. And the command that we're going to use is tk. Remember, tk is tkinter.tk. Be careful that tk that I wrote here is uppercase T and a lowercase k. So basically, we imported the class Tk, which is basically building the main application window here. Okay. All right, so now we are done with step number 2. So I will say step 2. Main application window. Okay, so the tk.tk will create the main application window. Once we have our main application window, we can start creating our widgets. Now, when I say widgets, widgets are basically the UI elements, like the buttons or the labels or the entry. So we will see one by one. So first, let's create a label. Okay, so let's see step number 3. Create a label. The label is basically a text that will be displayed on your main application window. Okay, so let's see how this works. So let's call this label 1, for example. Okay. In order to create the label, you have to do tk dot label. Okay, so you're using the class label, which is basically creating the label for you. Now, the label class needs some parameters. The first parameter that you need is root. Basically, you're telling that this label 1 must be placed in root in the main application window. Next thing is, what is the text that you want to display? Okay, so you have to write the command text equal to, let's say, type your name. Okay, so you're basically asking the user to type their name. Okay, but once we are done creating the label, we have to do one more thing. So you have to say label 1 dot pack. Here, pack is called a geometry manager in Tkinter. Basically, this means you want to place your label 1 and you can make changes like where you want to place it, whatever the alignment, paddings, those kind of stuff. For now, I will leave the pack empty. So label 1 dot pack. Okay. Next step, step number 4. Now here we're gonna create another widgets. Let's also add a comment here, adding widgets. And as I said, widgets can be label. We're gonna create 3 of them. So we will have a label, we will have entry, and we have a button. Okay, these are the 3 different widgets that you're going to create. So we already created a label. The next thing is we're going to create an entry. So how do we do this? So create an entry. So entry is where you can type something. Like for example, if you want to type your username or password, you need to have an entry. So let's call this entry 1. So similar type of command. So tk dot, since you're using entry, the command is tk dot entry. Again, you have to say root because you're going to use the same root to place your entry 1. The entry 1 doesn't need a name because, or doesn't need any text because this is where you're going to type your information. Again, you have to use pack, the geometry manager, saying that, okay, you are ready to place your entry right after label 1. Okay, so you're done putting our entry. Basically, this entry will be used to type your name. Basically, first you are asking the user to type name, and this entry will allow you to type the name. Okay, step 5. In this step, we will create a button. Basically, we'll say this is a submit button. So once the user done typing their name, we'll say, okay, submit the information. So to create a button, so let's call this button 1. And again, similar type of command, tk dot button. Again, you have to say root. The button also needs to have a text, like what is the button text. For example, you can see this is a run button and it has a text run. So you have to do something similar here. So text, we will say submit. Okay, and then we will have to pack this. Just like the way we packed the other widgets, we also need to pack this widget too. So we created 3 widgets. We created a label, we created an entry, we created a button. Now, if I click on run, you will not see anything, okay? Because there is one thing that's missing. So we already added all the widgets. We added a label. We already packed them. Again, the pack is a geometry manager. It is used to organize and arrange widgets in a parent widget, typically a frame or a window. Okay, so it automatically positions widgets in a top-down fashion, packing them one below the other, and you can control the order and alignment of widgets using the pack method. So now we're not going to go over that details, just saying that when you say label 1 packed, this will be displayed first, then entry will be packed second, button will be packed third. Okay, that's the main thing for now. As I said, the code is not working because we're missing a major thing, which is the main loop. Okay, so as I said, if you run the code, you will not see anything because you do not have the main loop. Now, the main loop function is a crucial part of the Tkinter GUI application because it serves as the main event loop that continuously listens for and handles user events such as mouse clicks, keyboard input, and interactions with graphical widgets. Basically, this is saying the loop will continuously to run so that if you type something, it can understand that, okay, you just type something, so that you have to continuously run your main window to listen for any interactions. Okay, so how do I write this? You have to say, let's start with step 6. Create the main loop. So what do you have to do? You have to say root dot main loop. As I said, the loop should be running on your main application window. Now let's see what happens. So we've completed all the steps. So there are 6 steps here. So if I click on run, you will see your widget is ready. And this is your first GUI made in Python using the help of Tkinter. So here you can type your name. For example, I can type my name. Obviously, if you click on submit, nothing is going to happen because we haven't programmed the button yet. The button is just for the display purpose right now. It's not going to do anything yet. Okay, so in the next video, we will see how the button works, and it will do a lot of things later on. Hopefully this